prior to this past summer, were you home then as well?
Yes.
And how long of a period of time was it that you spent most of your time at home?
Well, I interned 1 day a week. That was on Mondays, so I was home Tuesday through Friday all the time, like from morning on most time. And then my mother would be home from work, and I'd often go out at night. So someone was always.
How long was that? What period of time?
From May until end of August, beginning of September.
And did you observe your dog barking for any extended period of time during that period?
No, not extended. I mean, if they barked through their collar, they came in. If they were barking for more than a few seconds, they got brought in.
And have the dogs been wearing collars when they're outside?
Yes.
What type of collar?
Barking collars.
The barking collar is
It would vibrate with the, or it would zap with the vibration of the throat.
And have you observed whether or not the barking collars stop them very quickly from barking?
Oh yes, very.
And since, let's say all last summer and up to now, with what frequency would the dogs have the barking collars on if they were outside?
If I was home, I would say about 80%. If not, they're always on. I mean, it's habit. The collars sit on the crate, put the collar on before I put them outside when I take them out of the crate. And then when I take them in the house, I would take the collars off, put it back on the crate, and take the dogs upstairs with me, because they go outside through the basement.
I have no further questions.
Mr. Yule and then Mr. O'Leary.
Yes, Ms. Shaughnessy, you say when they're outside, they'll bark occasionally.
You have one dog who will sometimes test the collar if he hears something, whether something from the house, someone comes to the door and he's outside, or if every now and then a little squirrel, he'll try and bark through it, and he'll bark for a few seconds, the collar will kick in, and that's it. The other two won't even test it.
When they did not have the collar, how often they didn't have the collar last June, I presume, correct?
No, they've had barking collars since forever. I mean, since I literally can remember, even when we were in Stoneham, they had barking collars. Just because my mother's a dog trainer, I mean, they weren't on all the time as they are now. I'd say they started going on when the animal officers started coming to the house, like 3 or 4 years ago, just out of trying to be courteous.
That 20% when they don't have the collar on, I mean, how often do you have to go out, they're barking again or something like that? I mean,
the 20% when they're going out without the collars on are literally when I'm going to bed, letting them out to use the bathroom and bringing them in. They're not even outside for more than 10-15 minutes. So, I mean, when they're going out for extended periods of time, the collars, I would say 95% of the time are on. Does that answer?
yes.
Okay.
Mr. O'Leary.
Are there any other occurrences within the neighborhood that may have precipitated your dog barking on? Have them attempt to bark? Have them something else that would instigate them, or some other action from other animals other than a squirrel or something in the neighborhood?
I mean, anything in like the yard. I mean, if someone comes to the house, they'll bark automatically if there's someone on our property for the most time. I mean, even when they're in the house, they don't really bark. Even a lot of times when people come to the door, they won't bark. They'll run to the door. Every now and then they'll bark, but I mean, other than something being in the yard or hearing something in the front that would catch their attention.
What about other dogs in the neighborhood? Sometimes I just think of 101 Dalmatians. One dog starts barking, the other starts.
I mean, I would say it's more that they're all barking at the same thing rather than them feeding each other to bark amongst each other, if that makes sense. That, for example, if Pam or Chuck are walking their dog.
I'm sorry, what?
Pam, Mrs. Merrill, but yeah. Sorry. If they were walking, our dogs would start when their dog Winston would walk by, and then they would stop, and then so goes the chain with us. It starts that's what happens when they walk by. They hear a noise, they hear the chains, they're dogs. They have sensitive hearing. They hear it, and that would start. I wouldn't say that a neighbor's dog would create another neighbor's dog to bark necessarily. I think it's more that they're both barking at the same stimulus.
Any other questions? Okay.
Karen Companion? She'll say it better when I
Usually do. It's Karen Campagna. I live at 37 Spruce Road.
which is,
Which is right next door to Diane. This is Sean.
How long have you lived at 37?
2.5 years?
Okay, and Kathy is right next door, you say?
Right next door.
Approximately, how far away?
About 100, 125 feet from the corner of my house to the corner of her house.
Okay. Do you have any dogs?
I have 2.
Do they bark?
No, actually, they really don't. They will. I mean, they're a dog. Dogs do bark, but
The layout of your house, what rooms of your house face Diane's house?
I have a sunroom off the back of my house. That's all glass that I spend quite a bit of time in. That's the exact corner that faces the back of Diane's house, and my bedroom is on that end of the house as well.
You say the sunroom is all glass, is that?
It's all glass windows that, in the summertime, it's all open with the fan.
The windows in all?
Yes.
Okay, so they have screens?
Yes,
Okay, and during the summertime, are those windows open?
if I'm out there, yes.
Okay, do you have any observation while you're in your sunroom, or in your bedroom, or in your yard, as to the Shaughnessy household and Washington?
No. Honestly, right after we moved in, Diane asked me to call her if they barked. I don't call her. They don't, in 2.5 years, they have never barked to the point. They'll bark, they're a dog. Bark 1 to 2 minutes, not 2 minutes, like 30 seconds, a bark, they stop. It's never been annoying, ever.
Have you had any work done at your house?
We've had a lot of work done at my house. We've had it painted and the whole 9 yards.
And when the workmen were there, were they working in the yard?
One day that the painters were there, at the end of the day when they were leaving, they said something about the dogs. I called Diane. She didn't put them out again until the work was done on my house.
How would you rate these dogs as barkers compared to other dogs in the neighborhood?
They bark less than most other dogs in the neighborhood. I mean, I use my yard all the time. I've never observed them to be a nuisance.
You say all the time, do you work or are you home?
I'm a stay-at-home mom, 3 kids, 2 dogs. We use the yard. The only way I know her dogs are outside is because I see them moving, because I can see them clear as day.
You let your dogs out?
Yeah, they don't bark at my dogs.
They do not, or they do?
They don't.
They do not.
They don't bark at my dogs, they don't bark at my kids. My kids have gone into her yard to get a ball. I don't observe the barking.
I have no further.
what kind of dogs do you have, Jess?
I have, they're a Brittany Pointer mix. They're a 40-pound hunting dog.
Yeah, question mark.
Hunting?
Mr. Vino?
Yes,
Mr.
just one,
Yule, and then Mr. Delaney there.
yes, just one quick question. You mentioned the painters mentioned something about the dogs.
At the end of the day, they said the dogs were barking. So I called Diane
okay.
and I told her that they were barking
Was
at my
it like
painters.
an all-day
that they were-
thing?
You know what, I'm not sure.
You're not sure, okay.
But they said that they were, so I called Diane. She didn't put them out again until
Yep, okay.
they were done.
When was that?
Actually, that was last September, not this past September, the year before.
How frequently do you see the Shaughnessy's dogs with the barking collars on?
I can't see the collars, but I see the dogs. I don't hear them barking.
You never hear the dogs barking?
They will bark, burp, burp, and it's done. Because I've heard them bark and go, because you know they just got zapped, and they stop.
Mr. Yule?
Yes, a little bit off of what Joe asked you. The painters complained about
Mhm.
the dogs. Your children go and play, or go get the ball out of the backyard. Did that complaint seem kind of odd to you at the
It
time?
actually did, because they usually don't, but there was quite a bit of men in my yard, ladders, music, whatever. More disruptive maybe than just my kids out there playing.
Thank you.
Are you through, Mr.?
What other, I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Just
Mr.
that-
O'Leary.
What about other neighborhood dogs?
I hear other dogs in the neighborhood, yeah.
To the level that might be considered a nuisance?
I don't know, every dog barks, you know?
Do you think other people could construe it to be a nuisance? I mean, you might not find it to be a nuisance because you're a dog owner, but
You know, in the 2.5 years we've been there, I've never once sat out in my yard and thought, oh my God, those dogs need to stop barking. And I hate when my dogs bark. I tend to bring them in the second they do. So,
Do you consider Diane to be pretty responsible as it relates to the barking of
Yeah.
her dog, or taking care of her dog, or any other issue relative to her dog?
I find her to be very responsible. And her dogs bark less than most.
Nothing further.
I do have one more witness, I'd like Diane to tell us a little something.
I guess we'll let you do that.
Right, State your name and address, please.
Diane Shaughnessy, I live at 39 Spruce Road.
Do you own dogs?
Yes, I do.
How many dogs?
I have 3 German Shepherds.
You lived there since when?
Bought the house in March 1999.
When did, and started living there in 1999 as well?
Yes,
Did you have dogs at that time?
yes, I did.
Have you had dogs since that time?
I've always had dogs at that property.
Okay, was there a certain point in time that you started hearing that there were complaints about dogs in your neighborhood?
I've never heard any complaints until about 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, about barking dogs. And I've had dogs, multiple dogs on that property since I moved in.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a dog trainer.
We've heard talk about, let's go into, do you leave your dogs out without a barking collar?
No, I do not.
Okay. Do you go out with your dogs without a barking collar? In other words, leaving them out means leaving them out when you're not there.
In the yard?
In the yard. Going out with them is a slightly different concept. Do you go out with them without the barking collars on?
If they're in my yard,
Yes.
they usually have barking collars on if I am not home 100% of the time. If I'm with them,
Yes.
will I bring them outside in the yard and play with them?
Yes.
I usually don't play with the dogs in the yard. I'm sorry, usually do not play with my dogs in the yard. They come to work with me.
They go with you?
Yeah, a lot of times they come with me. Not all the time.
We've heard talk about your use of barking collars. Is that something that you've only done since September of this year?
I've used barking collars on and off for several years. I've used them consistently for the last, 3 years. And I've used them, as I mentioned to Mr. Delaney, I've used them 100% of the time since if I am not home and they're out, especially since our last meeting in September 22nd. If I am home, they have been on for the most part, but not always, especially in the summertime. They get sores and infections under their necks because those collars are on so often. And in the summertime with the heat and the humidity, it festers with an infection. So I try and give them a break if I'm home without wearing the collars, so that it can dry up and clear up.
You have barking collars with you so that the boy can see what a barking collar is?
Yes, I do. Barking collars for 3 dogs.
If you could explain what they are and how they
Mr. O'Leary will try one out.
Want to try it?
You know, I was thinking the same thing.
Want to try it?
We all voted for you, Steve.
You have. I've used different brands as well. This one seems to work the best lately, although they do have
We
different
keep
brands. And this is it's called a Dogtra is the brand. It's a no-bar collar, and it's a YS 500. They make a YS 250, which is less strong. I've gotten a YS 500, which is the strongest this company makes.
Could I see the box? Just the outside box.
You sure you don't want the collar?
I will.
We'll get Jeff the 250.
So you just want to see this?
If I can see, oh, I'll see both.
I'd like to see one of the collars too.
Thank you.
You want me to show you closely so you can see?
Yeah.
See from here?
No, yeah, I'd like to, if you don't mind.
All right. These collars go on the dog. This pad sits on the vocal cord.
Okay. And the vocal